We can cross this task off our list. Yes, we can. Alright, Jhod. It's now morning. Let's talk.
How may I serve you?
What services do you offer? I can sell you the various divine spell scrolls. They're quite useful, even if you don't have anyone in your party who can read them. While you're in this settlement, or indeed in any place with a cleric willing to help, you need only open your bag and choose the scroll you wish to cast. I'll be happy to read it for you. However, take care out there in the wilderness. A scroll is useless without someone who can read it. To use a scroll on your journeys, you'll need a spellcaster whose magical training covers such spells, or someone skilled in magical devices. So if we're in a safe area or somewhere with a cleric, so probably not just here at Oleg's, but there will be other places with clerics that we can buy scrolls from. They will cast them even if I don't have a cleric in my party of a sufficient level. Tell me about your visions that led you to the Temple of the Elk.
That's why I'm here.
What do you want from me?
Find the Temple of the Elk. I've pieced together its location from what I can remember of my visions. I have a rough idea of where to look for the sanctuary, somewhere in the North Nile marshes. However, I don't possess the strength to walk this path myself. Do not reject my plea, good traveler, and I'll repay you as best I can. In these dark times, people rarely help each other without compensation. May Erastil forgive us all. But I am sure my healing abilities will be useful to you.
Jhod frowns. Okay,
How may I serve you?
I think there were other topics under here. Tell me about the visions.
That's why I'm here.
Why do you need to find this temple?
What is there to understand? The gods do not send us visions for no reason. We must go to the temple. Then I believe we shall discover the true meaning and wisdom of Erastil's will.
Jhod folds his arms over his chest. That's enough about this for now.
As you wish.
Tell me about yourself, Jhod. Jhod says with a hint of grumpiness. Tell me about yourself.
What exactly would you like to know?
Tell me about your past.
My story? Why not? You deserve to know it. I am a priest of Erastil, and Galt is my homeland. You can imagine what it's like following the teachings of the stag god in a realm torn by discord and strife.
Okay. Right. I remembered Galt was where Lindsay was from. But yeah, I'd forgotten about the bloodshed. Okay. Trying to keep the geography of, or I guess the various places and lore in my mind.
Rebellion and suspicion are the pillars of Galt. Led by Erastil, I tried to guide my flock to embrace tranquility and balance and guard them from hasty judgment, until I fell from grace myself. Foolish, foolish old Jhod. My misdeeds cast a shadow over my life and service. In search of redemption and a balm for my soul, I took to the road. I had come nearly to despair when Erastil sent me a vision of the Temple of the Elk. I knew that very moment that the stag god had shown me the way to redemption.
Yeah, I don't think I've looked at the Temple of the Elk before. A huge rock surrounded by the forest with the head of an immense elk carved out of it. At the foot of the rock lies what was once an impressive shrine dedicated to the god Erastil. Also, I'm impressed by the amount of voice acting he has compared to, like, our party members and other major characters. He has voice lines for everything, which is weird. What did you do to anger Erastil?
Well, if you truly wish to know, I'll have to start from the long time back. Werewolves preyed upon the lands around my village. They murdered people for fun or sport and left the corpses to rot on the roads. One night, they broke into a young woman's house and dragged her into the streets.
Jhod lets out a deep sigh.
One evening, a traveler came to our tavern, tattered and dirty from days on the road like so many others roaming Galt. He sat quietly in the corner of the tavern, drinking cheap ale, and in an instant, I knew he was a werewolf. I felt it in my soul. It was like Erastil himself had whispered it into my ear.
Jhod smiles, but his eyes are dead as stones.
Led by Providence, I left to gather my flock, and we surrounded the tavern. The retribution was swift. However, I was tragically mistaken. The young man was no werewolf. He was a bandit, sent to spy on the village by one of the local gangs. We only found out after, when we went through his things.
Jhod clearly has no wish to go into detail. Lawful neutral, you should have stayed your hand and discovered the truth before you acted. Or chaotic neutral, still you saved your village from another danger, did you not? Or just, I see, please continue. Yeah, you saved your village from the danger of this gang.
That's still no excuse for my actions. I was a fool. I made a grave mistake. And what's worse, in the eyes of my flock, I cast doubt on Erastil's greatness. A priest who can barely hear the voice of his god is a disgrace to his lord and himself, and corrupts the very people he would save.
I guess if he declared to his followers that he knew that Erastil himself had clearly whispered the man was a werewolf, and then he wasn't a werewolf, then yes, it would cast doubt over Erastil's greatness, or at least himself as a priest of Erastil.
Whatever the case, I knew Erastil was no longer pleased with me. It was terrifying.
Jhod's voice wavers. Even now, one can glimpse inside him the remnants of the horror he lived through.
Imagine how my mind raced when here in the Stolen Lands I heard the voice of the stag god once again. He gave me another chance at service to atone for my guilt. Now I have regained hope, and that very hope is my most precious possession.
Alright, what can you tell me about your homeland, Galt?
For some, it is a land of freedom, where power belongs to the people, not to lords or kings. For others, it's a land of never-ending revolution, a realm surrendered to anarchy. It depends on who you ask.
Okay.
For me, I found Galt a violent place. Crowds eager to lynch a stranger for that accent or appearance, where a single word uttered at the wrong time or place can spark the people to riot and cities to burn.
He shakes his head.
For me, it is a place inhabited by the frightened and the desperate, always suspicious, watchful of trickery. All too often they are deaf to the voice of reason. They cannot grasp that chaos and lawlessness lead only to yet more chaos and lawlessness. All my life I've tried to break through to these poor people, but alas, I don't seem to have made much progress.
Jhod is visibly upset and grows silent for a while. That's all for now.
As you wish.
Tell me about Erastil.
Of course. It would be my pleasure. Erastil is one of the eldest gods of Golarion. His faith emerged when the first people appeared upon the land. Erastil helped our ancestors cultivate the land and hunt. Even now, his blessing lies with those who uphold the old traditions and keep to simpler ways, far from civilization and the noise of the city.
Jhod's smile widens. Well, it seems like we are in a place that Erastil would appreciate, far away from civilization and cities. Wait a moment, cities have their strengths as well, don't they? Civilization fosters science, trade, and invention, and in that, it often improves life for all of us.
Tell that to the peasant robbed of all he owns, spending his night in the gutter, hoping to live to see the sunrise. You won't see such things in a village.
Jhod mournfully shakes his head. Well, you do have a point. Indeed, cities can be places of evil and wrongdoings. They definitely can. That's not to say that there's no good from cities either. I don't share your opinion. My future capital will be no village, whether you like it or not. One day it will rival Absalom itself. I mean, that's a tall order. Absalom is the major trade post on an island in the middle of a sea where it trades with all the other nations nearby. I see no point in arguing. I mean, I can agree with him. He has a point. Cities can be places of evil and wrongdoing. That doesn't mean that there's no place for cities or that cities are only bad, but there is bad problems caused by cities. You do have a point. Indeed, cities can be places of evil and wrongdoing.
I'm glad to hear you agree. These days, many are deaf to the wisdom of generations.
What does Erastil demand of his faithful?
The word demand does not befit the stag god. Honesty and friendship, loving families, merry weddings, and newborn children in their mother's arms, they bring a smile to Erastil's face. He loves his people and rewards them with fortunate hunts and plentiful harvests. But he has no temper for sloth and vanity. He never bestows gifts upon his faithful without first measuring their worthiness. We ourselves must win our daily bread, but the stag god comes to our aid in times of need and strife.
It's a reasonable viewpoint. A god that wants the people to be hardworking, pull their own weight, but then is willing to reward them with, plentiful harvest, happiness, etc. I could get behind that. I've always had respect for Erastil and his priests. I've long felt that Erastil was a worthless god, and now you've made me even more certain. Wow. It's a bold declaration. To each their own. I wanted to ask you something else. I've always had respect for Erastil and his priests.
I see it more clearly every day. Erastil himself led me to meet you. Your keen spirit will serve you well.
A smile lights up Jhod's face. I mean, we are a Sylvan sorcerer, so we do have a connection to nature ourselves. So, we're comfortable in the wilds. And to each their own. I wanted to ask you something else.
I am happy to help.
I guess I don't. Thank you for your story. We may speak more later. Farewell. And then we have two new companions. Jhod. Jhod greets you with a nod. Speak. I would like to hear your story. It's probably interesting because she's undead. And that's gotta be an interesting story. I'd like to hear your story. Stories, Jhod shrugs. Stories are boring and a waste of time. I was exiled from Kionin. I died. I was raised by Urgathoa's gift. That is my story. So Kionin is the homeland of the elven race on Galarian. It was almost completely evacuated by the elves just before the fall of Starstone. They only recently, by elven standards, returned to Galarian to reclaim their ancient homeland and have become an isolationist realm, allowing few non-elven visitors into their mist-shrouded capital, Iadara. So you were from the elven homeland. I assume you were not one of the ones who left and recently came back? Well, presumably you were. Because they basically all left. So you're of the descendants of those who returned. It says recently by elven standards, but I don't necessarily know what that means. Like, how recent is that? And Urgathoa, also known as the Pallid Princess and Lady Despair, is the goddess of physical excess, disease, and the undead. She is mostly worshipped by dark necromancers, the undead, and those wishing to become undead. Sometimes those who live gluttonous lifestyles make supplication to her, as do those suffering from serious illness. Her faithful believe she was the first creature to defy Pharasma and return unnaturally from the boneyard and break free from the cycle of souls. I think I've read that already. But yeah, just god of undead. Reminds me of Nurgle from 40k to some extent. Like Warhammer 40k. Who were you before your exile? Who did you kill and why? Did you have family in Kionin? Who were you before your exile? It's rather amusing. I belonged to a wealthy family and held a high position on the courts of Iadara, the capital of Kionin. When my little wrongdoings were revealed, the trial was held in the very same court where I tried cases and delivered sentences over several hundred years. An awkward situation, don't you think? So you were probably an Inquisitor already, or whatever. I don't think that's the name of her class. Maybe it is. Whatever her class is, which is all about trial and judgment. She probably was that before she became undead. But now she serves the undead god. several hundred years of trying, delivering sentences, but little wrongdoing. So were you performing necromancy or something? And it was caught? And then you were tried and sentenced and exiled? Who did you kill and why? Family, 4. Jathal's voice is calm and ordinary, as if she is speaking of something trivial, but why is the more interesting question. What is the worth of 1,000 years if you cannot enjoy it like your first 10 dozen springs? The elf's voice sounds unusually vehement. Everyone considers elves ever young, but our youthfulness is but a mask, a threadbare ritual gown. What lies underneath? The dust of years and jaded repetition. With each year, the dust grows thicker, and erstwhile joys cease to excite and cloy as a dish you've tasted 1,000 times. You were growing bored with your elven immortality? Okay. Long did I search for a way to avert this fate. Don't I, who has truly tasted life, deserve a better lot than those benumbed old elves who close themselves to the world? And I found a way in the ancient texts of Urgathoa, a ritual involving the blood of my kin, a trifle that would make each day feel as a holiday, created specially for me. The ritual gave strength not only to my body, but to my mind and my soul. And my mind whirled at every sensation, each sip of wine or silken caress. Oh, how I missed this. My cousin was the first I used for the ritual. It was a simple matter to pass her death as an unfortunate accident, but the enchantment would not last. I had to find another, and again conceal my trail. With the third death, my family grew suspicious, and upon the fourth, my deeds were finally revealed. Such a pity. If not for this, my own life, even now, would overflow with burning pleasure, for I have dozens of useless relatives. Okay, so you killed your various family members, and each time your undeath became stronger, and you gained more ability to enjoy the pleasures of life as an undead. I hope you suffered fair punishment for your crimes, lawful good, neutral good. Did you kill innocent elves for entertainment and pleasure? That's abominable. It is. Neutral, I'm not one to judge you your past deeds. Or lawful evil, an objective worth pursuing, but it would be better to refrain from secret murder. There are many ways to arrange a death while keeping within the boundaries of law and decency. Or neutral evil. In the end, we all live for ourselves. The lives of others shouldn't outweigh our own. I'm gonna go with the neutral good. Did you kill innocent elves for entertainment and pleasure? That's abominable. Which she's going to hate. Yes, I have, Jhathal shrugs. Use whatever high-sounding words you wish to describe my deeds. Say abominable if it suits you. Reasonable and honest would fit just as well. I mean, at least she's not trying to hide or justify her actions. She's openly admitting to them. That's good? Question mark. Do you have family in Kyonin? Anyone who is dear to you? I mean, clearly not. I mean, maybe she has some family that she doesn't want to kill, but it seems like most of her family she considers useless and willing to kill. Do you have family in Kyonin? Anyone who is dear to you? Do you mean someone I would hesitate to sacrifice? Perhaps my daughter. I would regret the wasted effort. The creature turned out quite well, like a properly trained dog or a well-managed horse. Wow. Your daughter. You have a daughter, and you refer to her as a creature like a properly trained dog. That's the closest you have to someone you would hesitate to sacrifice. You are evil. Yeah, I think evil is the word. Like, not even hesitant or hiding it. No emotion, no emotional connection to anyone. Is exile your only punishment for murder? For an elf, Jhathal says pointedly, exile is a serious punishment. There is no other Kyonin in this world. Even I, who despises its hypocrisy, must admit as much. So Kyonin is so great that getting exiled from it is a harsh enough punishment to elves that they consider it a decent punishment for murder. Huh. How did you die and what happened after? Jhathal frowns. I don't remember my death. I was stunned by the sentence of exile, and I admit I showed weakness. I wandered aimless, absorbed in despair, without concern for my safety or sustenance. And then I remember desolate rocks, a stone I lay upon, a convulsion, passing not only through my whole body, but through my soul. Then I awakened, cold, calm, my body overwhelmed with strength, but haunted by a strange internal silence. There were bloody prints of bone feet on the stone next to me, a sign of the goddess. A battle scythe lay nearby. That was the first and last time I heard Urgatho's voice. She spoke but 3 words. Hail the Inquisitor. Okay, it is Inquisitor is the class. That is all. She has neither addressed me nor answered my pleas ever since. So you worship Urgathoa, you were following rituals you learned of her, and then wandering without concern for your safety, you suddenly found yourself on a rock, waking up as an undead, with no memory of how you got there. Huh. And Urgathoa does not respond to you at all since. And it's not that you don't care. Like, she seems very uncaring about anything, really. But the statement of, nor answered please. Please is a very strong word. She's called out to Urgathoa and is getting ignored. And that bothers her. That's how I'm interpreting that. I will not bother you with the story of how I tried to comprehend my new condition. Soon I had a chance to put my new powers to the test. So when she was killing her family for pleasure and enjoyment, it wasn't to help her feel emotions as an undead. She was still a living elf at that point. Just bored with the monotony of being an eternal, many hundred years old elf. And the killing helped her through the monotony. But it wasn't, the normal undead curse of you can't feel anything that a lot of stories go with. She wasn't undead then. I will not bother you with the story of how I tried to comprehend my new condition. Soon I had a chance to put my powers to the test. A group of my kin had tracked me through the woods. They were insolent and would pay dearly for this, but I had to reckon how I might free myself from their persistent chase. A powerful protector from among the short-lived could help me, and the Sword Lord seemed suitable. That is all. So, to get free of your kin tracking you down, you decide to go on this expedition, hoping to find some sort of protector. And now you're part of my party. So you were part of Tartuccio's party for him to be the powerful protector, but he betrayed you. Now you're sort of clinging on to me, hoping that I can protect you from your kin. Alright. What about your birthplace? So, Kionen. I hope you do not ask from idle curiosity. Kionen is the birthplace of the elves. The other races are allowed to visit within reasonable limits, usually only as far as Greengold. That is the enclave for half-breeds and the short-lived, a whim of our queen. I enjoy going there sometimes, as to a wild beast show. Beyond this caricature of a city, Kionen is a mixture of grandeur and the sad remains of ancient glory. The half-breeds and short-lived that you refer to as a wild beast show. So Greengold. The port city of Greengold is the second largest settlement in Kionen and the only official entry point into the Elven Kingdom for non-elves. Situated on Lake Incarthen, it is a popular port of call for traders and diplomats. Greengold generally appears as any other human dockside settlement, except that trees grow in strange places throughout, and the yellow roofs on all the buildings makes the city quite distinct. Okay. Next to today's graceful dwellings lie the ruins of ancient monuments and fountains. Elves prefer to live in small groups, in secluded settlements. The most outgoing and ambitious live in the capital, Iadara. Daily life is filled with the efforts of 100-year-old infants seeking worthy goals and 1,000-year-old stony cynics entertaining themselves however they can. That is all. It's scarcely worth worth mentioning that even this gloom is far more tempting than anything one finds in the lands of the short-lived. 100-year-old infants. That's one of the things that's always struck me as weird about D&D 3.5 and Pathfinder, is that the elves, if you read about their like age, it says that they reach maturity. Like, I think humans, it says reach maturity at like 15, what's considered an adult, and elves reach maturity at like 100. And so people make jokes about the fact that you're raising an elf for 100 years of infancy or being a child. And are they just really dumb to not mature quicker? So she's kind of pointing it out. I've heard other people state that it's just that elves don't consider them adults, even though they age like mentally along with humans to what an elf would consider mature enough is 100 years. And that makes it make a touch more sense, because the idea of like, oh yeah, they have the mind of a toddler for like 15 years and then an early child for like another 20 years just seems ridiculous. Enough talking about your past. As you wish. What's it like to be undead? Do you wish to know what it means to me personally, or what powers and limitations it imposes? Do you regret not being alive anymore? A shadow passes over Jathal's face. You surely know how to ask questions. She says nothing for a long time. 2 desires led me through life: to feel pleasure time and time again, and to achieve perfection. Unlife brought me closer to the second. I am changeless, torn from time. The chaos of the world and even the soul circle have no power over me, but everything comes with a price. Most things that brought me pleasure in life are meaningless to me now. How can I decide which is better? Neutral good. There's no purpose in life, only for yourself. It makes life and unlife equally senseless. There's no point in living only for yourself. Okay. I misread that the first time. Chaotic neutral. A bright life full of pleasures is better than unlife, though eternal. I could see that. Chaotic evil. You become powerful. That's all that matters. It's much better than the life of ordinary mortals and even elves. I mean, the problem with this one is it's basically stating the trade you made was the wrong direction to go. You wanted 2 things, pleasure and eternal life. You chose eternal life, and this is saying pleasure is better. I don't disagree with there's no purpose in living only for yourself, but I don't think she cares, because she clearly has no connection to people based on her connection to her family members as well as her statements about her daughter. I don't think she will care about that statement at all. A bright life full of pleasures is better than unlife, though eternal. Perhaps, but the choice was made for me. I have nothing left but to follow the will of the goddess. How do healing spells, prayers, and potions affect you? It seems like the healing that Harem was doing was not hurting her. How do healing spells, prayers, and potions affect you? Dreadfully, of course. Your healers had better stay away from me in battle. The undead are healed through interactions with negative energy, and I can perfectly manage that on my own. I have done my best to keep you having such spells, don't worry. You don't need to sleep, right? I am spared from that bothersome need, but I hope you do not take this as a reason to invent additional responsibilities to entertain me during the night. I spend this time meditating and addressing the goddess. Okay. I wouldn't say no to never needing to sleep. That is, 8-ish hours a day that I would happily take back if I had that freedom. What about carnal pleasures? A tactless and facile. I don't know that word. Question. That pleasure is now as senseless to me as food or wine. Action without feeling. Jthal cringes. Thank you. I have no more questions about this. Apparently not. Tell me about your goddess. It might sound strange, but I know less than others about Urgathoa and her faith. My transformation into her Inquisitor was unexpected, but I will answer to the best of my knowledge. What do you know of Urgathoa herself? Oh, certainly. Urgathoa was once a mortal woman, basking in life and all the pleasures it has to offer. Her passion was so strong that Urgathoa rebelled against Pharasma, against death itself and its laws, and her own death. She escaped the power of the Lady of Graves and returned to the world as a goddess, and the first undead. Since then, she has protected all who submit their souls to pleasure and passion, paying no heed to worn-out mortals and the dictates of law. What does it mean to be an Inquisitor of Urgathoa? This question is more complicated than it seems. An Inquisitor is by nature the most zealous defender of their faith. The hand of their goddess is in mundane affairs. When I received this title and power, I expected that Urgathoa would tell me my mission. But this never happened. The goddess remained silent. There's only one reasonable explanation I can imagine. Discovering what's expected of me is part of my mission. So I reflect on this, make my prayers, and wait for a sign. Does Urgathoa feud with the other gods? No, not Urgathoa, but Pharasma still tries to call her to order, and Sarenrae to heal her. Jthal laughs at the absurdity. What does Urgathoa require of her followers? To enjoy, to taste exquisite dishes, to feel the lover's caress, to drink the enemy's suffering. A wonderful religious obligation, isn't it? But didn't you already state that you can't do any of that? Like you said specifically about a lover's caress, that it's just meaningless movement, as meaningless as wine and food. So, I mean, you can enjoy an enemy's suffering, sure. But the rest of this, it seems like being undead has killed the things you're supposed to do to worship your undead goddess, which strikes me as weird. Why is the cult of Urgathoa forbidden in much of Golarion? I mean, most places don't like undead, for fairly obvious reasons. And the fact that she was exiled because following Urgathoa's teachings of murdering her family, just for the fun of it, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Why is the cult of Urgathoa forbidden in much of Golarion? Because Golarion is plagued by narrow-minded cowards. Some tremble at the freedom granted by Urgathoa. Others fear the wrath of Pharasma and her priests. Alright, enough about this for now. As you wish, conversation is truly a waste of time. What made you follow me? Curiosity. The need for a reliable ally. You see, I must come to understand what my goddess seeks from me. Urgathoa gave me the power of Inquisitor without declaring her will to me. I await her reply, any hint or trace or clue. And I suppose our meeting was no mere accident. Besides, Jthal cringes, I imagine that several Keonan assassins still pursue me. They never risked attacking me while I was under the patronage of the Aldori. And they are unlikely to attack while I have reliable allies like you. Why did the assassins follow you? Because you're a murderer? And you're an undead. Why did these assassins follow you? I do not know. They can't have been sent by the Queen. I'm branded outlaw, but my punishment was exile, and it is not custom for elves to contravene their own verdicts. My attackers shouted something about threat and blood. I suppose they are a splinter group of feeble-minded zealots, or someone on a quest for personal revenge. There were other options, so let's ask. Oh, I guess we can't. Well, thank you for the conversation. Farewell. So lastly, Valerie should be somewhere. This has gone long. I suspect I'm going to break this video into multiple parts, because I didn't realize how long the dialogue was going to go.
I'm there.
I don't know where Valerie's hiding. I didn't see her inside, so she's got to be out here somewhere. I don't think she would be outside the walls. Is she on the map? Ah, she
I am yours to command.
is here? I didn't see her over here, but the map says she's here. There's Jthal. Oh, there you are. Hi. Greetings, Valerie sighs. Everything is well, I hope. I'm ready for new orders. Tell me about yourself. What exactly would you like to know? I was born to a noble family. Though I didn't remain long on the family estate, my father sent me to the Order of the Eternal Rose, but I left once I realized that it didn't match my principles. Where are you from? What was your childhood like? I was born in Brevoy, but in fact, I've never seen much of the country. I spent my childhood on a remote estate owned by my noble family. My father is a respected philanthropist and benefactor of the Church of Shaylin. He's also a renowned private collector and a great admirer of the arts. My mother saw to my education personally. From my early years, I learned good manners, how to behave at the dinner table, and the proper form of words for every occasion. I also learned the difference between true nobles and low-born upstarts, and I learned how to treat each of them properly. Our home was always under the protection of several paladins of Shaylin. My father had donated a handsome sum to their order. One of them, a man of venerable age with a gray beard, once let me touch his shining armor. I still remember the admiration I felt when I touched the cold polished steel. Valerie smiles. Of all the memories of my childhood, that one is somehow the warmest one. Why were you sent to the Paladin Order of the Eternal Rose? As you can imagine, from my first days, I was surrounded by crowds of servants and nannies who never stopped praising my heavenly beauty. The Paladins of Shaylin who used to visit our house echoed these praises. In the end, general consensus overwhelmed my father's better judgment. When I turned 6, I was brought to the Church of Shaylin and told that this would be my new home. Don't pity me, though, I beg of you. Many who hear this story immediately assume that my parents were cruel and had no love for their child. Valerie's eyes become stern. My parents had respect for me. They taught me something that has supported me all of my life, a sense of self-esteem. Besides, they didn't abandon me. Once every 6 months, they would come and visit me at the Order of the Eternal Rose. We had some tea, and then had an hour to walk around the garden. Then they would take their leave, as etiquette demanded. What did they teach you in the Order? A variety of things. Some of them appealed to me, others I simply couldn't accept. I enjoyed the physical activities and swordsmanship, but the arts, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and so many other ways to waste one's time. Valerie sighs. I guess that deep in my heart, I always knew I'd never be a true paladin of Shaylin. Wielding a sword always felt more natural to me than handling a paintbrush. Why did you leave the Order? Because of my heavenly beauty. Valerie winces in contempt. According to Shaylin's laws, all art is sacred, whatever form it takes. Severe punishment awaits those who would dare harm a painting, sculpture, or poem, no matter how worthless the drivel might be. My looks always attracted unwanted attention from the pilgrims and acolytes at the temple. I received my first poem dedicated to me when I was 9. The author was some wealthy geezer. Valerie's lips thinned in contempt. That was only the beginning. Sculptures, pictures, poems, I was drowning in them. My admirers mobbed me, and I had to respectfully accept all their garbage. The clerics of the temple were magnanimous, for my suitors made generous offerings to the church, but one time, I just snapped. Barely suppressed anger glitters across Valerie's eyes. Some wealthy idiot had dedicated an extremely untalented poem to me, and he had the nerve to read it right to my face, holding my sleeve. The hour was late, and I was on my way to get some rest after a boring lesson on rhymes. I lost control and tore the poem apart right in front of him. Valerie raises her head proudly. The paladins wanted to impose some punishment upon me. I don't remember exactly which one exactly. They wanted me to repent. Instead, I just gathered my things and left. What did you do after you left the Order? I set off for Restov. Valerie shrugs. I wanted to get as far as possible from Shaylin, and the destiny everyone seems so ready to force upon me. Besides, the School of Swordsmanship in Restov had quite a decent reputation. Honestly, I was hoping for an opportunity to learn from the famous the Aldori Masters. Evidently, it became clear that their technique wasn't a good fit for me. They teach to avoid impact, whereas I prefer to raise my shield. But my abilities and skills, which I'd learned at the Order of the Eternal Rose, were enough to make the Sword Lords take an interest in me. They offered me a chance to join the mercenaries who served the Sword Lords, and I accepted. Yeah, so I looked at her level up to see if she could take levels in Paladin, because I figured maybe she can be a Paladin of a different god. Unlike 5th edition, where Paladins just have an oath, but they're not tied to a specific god, in D&D 3.5 and Pathfinder, Paladins specifically are tied to a god. And I was like, okay, she doesn't have to be tied to Shaylin. Clearly that's not a good fit. But she could be a paladin for a different order. But apparently she's an atheist, and you can't be a paladin as an atheist. So paladin is not for her, which is a bit of a shame because she has a decent-ish charisma that she could have made use of as a paladin. But oh well. I bet your beauty inspired many people in the Order. I bet she's going to hate this question. Let's ask it anyway. Valerie's gaze suddenly becomes cold. Yep. And here I'd hoped to avoid the question. She exhales loudly. Well, let's get this over with once and for all. You should understand that I am perfectly aware that most races, orders, and genders find me physically attractive. It's beyond my power to change that, but I've never given a potential admirer any reason to start a conversation with me. But it doesn't stop them. After leaving the order, I took a dagger and cut off the long hair they used to praise. Well, now I get letters praising the beauty of my eyes. It was because of my appearance that I ended up in the Order of the Eternal Rose, though I never wanted to be a paladin. It was because of my beauty that an infinite number of suitors have pursued me, all of them confusing simple politeness with hints of affection. Valerie clenches her fist. But do you know what I really want? I want people to stop treating me like a piece of art. I want them to notice that I'm a person, that I'm capable of something more than smiling for paintings, where I sit wearing a lacy satin dress, holding a basket of peaches in my lap. Is that too much to ask? The last question comes out in a shout, though Valerie doesn't seem to realize it. Thank you for your honesty. I understand you very well. You are a true friend who I can trust with my life. That's like, whoa, back up. I appreciate you, and I'm not going to comment on your beauty in this statement. I know what you mean, but still, you shouldn't drive people away who only want to open their hearts to you. It's not their fault that you inspire such a feeling. She will hate that. Whoa, why all the shouting? It was just a simple question. What will become of all your precious self-control? Both of those are different ways of upsetting her. I'm almost certain. Thank you for your honesty. I understand you very well. You're a true friend who I can trust with my life. I am truly happy that you understand me. Thank you. Valerie smiles at you gratefully, and the smile is full of warmth that you never expected from someone as stern as Valerie. You suddenly realize that you're smiling back at her. Let's change the subject. You have my attention, Valerie bows politely. Tell me about the way of Shaylin and about her paladins. Shaylin is goddess of love, beauty, and art. Her paladins are something like armored artists. That's how they like to think of themselves, at least. Valerie tries to contain her feelings, but her inner contempt bursts forth. They are fanatical defenders of worthless, inartistic paintings and meaningless opuses, if you care to know my opinion. You speak of Shaylin with such contempt. What did the goddess of beauty do to earn your anger? She's been trying to ruin my life, Valerie snorts. Shaylin, the goddess of everything useless that ever exists in this life, all the beauty in the world, all the art, all the soulful sighs in the moonlight, will never feed a single family. And I beg you to restrain yourself from offering your own opinion. Trust me, I've heard everything you can tell me. More than once. Nothing and nobody can change my mind. Valerie looks at you with suspicion. As for Shaylin, she's the goddess of idlers. I almost joined her preposterous entourage. I'm just glad I was smart enough to denounce her while I still could. What do paladins of Shaylin usually do? They wander around seeking the next pile of garbage, and when they find it, they call it an immortal piece of art and admire it until they're blue in the face. She has extremely strong opinions. You might not believe this, but paladins of Shaylin aren't allowed to slay their enemies if they beg for mercy. Can you guess why? Because a bandit, rapist, or murderer who has been put to the sword will never be able to create something beautiful in the future. So a paladin overpowers her enemy in battle, then inspires him to create a masterpiece. Valerie's face reflects extreme disgust. It might sound hilarious if it weren't true. Plus, all of Shaylin's followers are obliged to practice some sort of art in his or her free time, every single day, no matter what else is going on, even if you're feeling sick or hungry or sleepy. Otherwise, according to the clerics, you lose your connection with your goddess. A preposterous notion, wouldn't you agree? I understand that not every piece of art is good or even decent, but surely there must be at least a few great works among them. Is that what you think? Valerie curves an eyebrow, mocking amazement. Many share that delusion. I was deluded too for a while. Now I consider all works of art useless. People create this garbage because they have nothing better to do. The peasant doesn't paint a picture, he plows the earth to feed his family. The soldier has no time for sculpture, he must defend his homeland. But idlers and slackers have plenty of time to waste, so they smear canvases with paint and imagine they've done something worthy and valuable. Valerie shakes her head in disapproval. You said that every paladin must practice some kind of art. What kind of art did you pursue? Ah, that. I used to embroider, and I still do from time to time. A treacherous blush covers Valerie's cheeks. It's nothing, I assure you. Just a simple task to keep my hands busy and keep the gloomy thoughts at bay. Nothing special. It's funny how very focused she is against Shaylin and the idea of any sort of art or creativity. And I don't know how much time she's putting into embroidery, but it's like, you would think if she's that anti-art, that she would, sharpen her sword or polish her armor or something. The fact that she is even willing to embroider, I find surprising. I see, let's talk about something else. I couldn't agree more. If I can be frank, all this talk of Shaylin makes me want to spit. My noble upbringing prevents me from performing such an undignified act. So you're an atheist. You don't worship any deity. Right. I need no guidance from above. I have my own good conscience and my leader's orders to live by. So I find atheism strange in Golarion, because it's a world where the gods are known. Like, mortals have gone through trials to ascend to godhood. They've come back as gods and shown themselves. It's a known fact that there are clerics and paladins who receive power from gods. So the idea of being an atheist seems strange. And I assume it's more of a feeling that you don't need the gods rather than a disbelief that the gods exist. I can't imagine someone in Golarion, someone, generally sane and rational, somehow disbelieving the existence of the gods in Golarion. Obviously, there's crazy people who probably still disbelieve them, but yeah, atheism is a weird topic in a setting like this. You don't have to follow etiquette and maintain good manners while speaking with me if you don't want to. I'm aware of that, Valerie sighs, but I'm sure you understand that I am what I am. That's how I was brought up, first by my parents, and then by my mentors in the Order. Besides, I was born to a noble family, Valerie raises her chin proudly, so I rather enjoy the idea that my manner of speech differs a bit from the common language of the peasantry. You just can't imagine how many social climbers have bowed politely the moment I opened my mouth. I guess you have plenty of suitors. Yep, she has stated that. Valerie rolls her eyes. Sadly, you're right to suppose that. Even here, in these remote lands, one can find offspring of many noble houses, and all of them consider it their duty to kneel before me, begging me to walk with them in the garden. Valerie's voice overflows with contempt. If words were poison, you'd be dying a horrible death. Oh, and don't forget about the village oafs. They understand the concept of nobility perfectly well, so they realize they'll be punished if they dare make any advances toward me, so they prefer to stare from a distance, drooling. And believe me, I can very well imagine what they discuss in the taverns. Valerie shivers and jerks her shoulders, as if trying to shed the sticky, disgusting stares. You really are quite beautiful. You're a reliable friend and a worthy ally, but would be a crime to ignore your beauty. I'm not going to say that. She has made it extremely clear that she does not want people commenting on her beauty. Like, it's fine to say she's a reliable friend and a worthy ally, but she does not want 2 sentences talking about her beauty. You're so eager to follow my orders. Why? What do you mean, why? Valerie looks at you in bewilderment. I follow your orders. I've joined your campaign because I have faith in you. I believe your intentions to be noble, though things may not always turn out as you've planned. You are my commander. Your orders are law. It's my duty to follow them. Valerie hesitates for a moment. Well, so long as you don't order me to do something that's absolutely dishonorable, but that would never happen, I hope. So she's definitely lawful good. We are chaotic good, and I'm wondering at what point there's going to be disagreements and conflict there. Because while we generally, and I would say I'm going to follow a more towards good than either chaos or law. But if I do continue down a chaos path, at what point is she going to have issues with that? Thank you for the conversation. I'll talk to you later. As you wish, Valerie nods with dignity. Okay, well that was a ton of talking. So, yeah, I didn't think it would take that long. There it is. So we're going to end this episode here, and next time we will set out, and I'm still thinking I want to go to the spider caverns. We've got, I guess, what do we have to deal with them? Because we're going to need some sort of splash damage or area attacks. We've got some, yeah, here they are. Alchemist Fire and Acid Flasks. Only 2 Acid Flasks, but 13 feels like a lot of Alchemist Fire. And then spellcasting wise, I don't know that we have like burning hands on anyone or other, similar area attacks. That hasn't been a focus. We've got some of her ray attacks, but that's not the same. Yeah. Maybe I haven't planned this out super well. Yeah, I don't have anyone capable of magical area attacks. But still, I think it'd be fine. We do also need to head towards the abandoned house, which is where we'll learn more about the Stag Lord. I think that's his name. The bandit leader. And I think in the similar areas, probably based on the description, where we're going to find the Temple of the Elk. So I don't know which direction we're going to go. We'll figure that out next time. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.